Visions, I've seen it in my manifestation. I'm sleeping this guy and gonna create the most viral knockout ever. We're sparring.
That's what we need.
We're sparring.
Warm up, warm up.
Some
I know
8-year-olds. I got the 8-year-olds in there.
If I find out anything, I'm gonna beat your ass, and I'm gonna beat Jaden Love on my mama. Beat both of y'all ass.
For them.
Will it impact Tank's legacy if Jake Paul were like to beat him or even like knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from
GervontaDavis just exploded after Jake Paul reportedly claimed he'd knock him out in 3 rounds, adding serious heat to an already wild buildup. Many critics say this fight is risky for Davis. Someone of his caliber rarely takes on matchups like this, and a loss could damage his legacy. But if he shuts down the hype, overcomes Jake's size and power, and delivers the win, it won't just be another victory. It'll be a statement that could redefine how fans remember him in boxing history.
I think Davis is more to lose because he's the bona fide world champion. I don't care if he's much smaller. I think Jake Paul has sort of plateaued as far as where his boxing is concerned. It's rather low level. He's big, he's physical, he's strong, he can hit. So there is that risk. Davis, at lightweight, you're in a moment where it's too physical for you. You can clinch. Against the heavyweight, where you clinching? You ain't getting out of that corner just clinching anymore if you run out of space. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. But Davis, listen, there's a lot of talking points that I'm sure we'll get into when this gets closer to the fight. Davis can still punch at lightweight. Can he drop a heavyweight? There's a lot to gain there, right? If Davis knocks...
The answer is yes.
If Davis drops Jake on his ass, as much as Davis is the one with more to lose, it's still a highlight moment.
A visual that will stay forever.
Yeah. But if you get dropped, even if you're smaller, you're still a world champion in multiple weight classes. If you get dropped, what's the look? What's the feel? On the inside, as boxers, me and Chris Aldre, the champion, even you, Jimmy, you have fight experience, so we know that the risk is a big guy that big hits you. You're probably going down if you're a small guy. If he hits you clean, so we know the risk. But how does it look to the public eye who don't understand that? You know what I mean? The public. So there is a lot to lose, though. There's a bit to gain. I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with this had Davis's career arc been one that benefited boxing. Davis was manufactured and put into a position where he's supposed to benefit boxing, and I don't think he has. I think he's hurt boxing. So by giving him this reward, that's my problem. Why are we watching this? Why don't you make him earn his spot that he still hasn't earned, mind?
Jake Paul has cranked up the hype, promising to deliver the knockout of the year when he steps in with GervontaDavis. He's not treating this like just another fight. He wants a moment that dominates headlines and silences critics. From the way he's talking, it's clear Jake sees this as a shot to prove he belongs, to shock the boxing world, and to carve his name into the sports story. By chasing the biggest knockout, he's betting on more than power. He's betting on spectacle, making this fight about legacy as much as victory.
Fighters, because this thing is going to be watched by hundreds of millions globally. Jake, give the people one thing that you can guarantee that they're going to get on November 14th when they tune in to Netflix.
Yeah, you're gonna see the 2 biggest fighters in America go head-to-head with an amazing card. World championship fights back to back to back. And that's just how the MVP way we do it. And I'm gonna come for a knockout of the year again. I've seen it in my visions. I've seen it in my manifestation. I'm sleeping this guy and gonna create the most.
Rolly Romero has spoken out about the possible impact of a Jake Paul knockout over GervontaDavis, saying it wouldn't do lasting damage to Tank's legacy. He pointed out that Davis is already a 3-division world champion and one of the most respected names in boxing. In interviews and Instagram reels, Rolly stressed that one loss, or even a knockout, can't erase years of hard-earned success, world titles, and dominance across multiple weight classes.
bro, you can't be mad at somebody for doing what they feel is best for them.
Will it impact Tank's legacy if Jake Paul were like to beat him or even like knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from him. Bro, you can't be mad at somebody for doing what they feel is best for them. It's the same way Roach feels Tank is the best option for him. Same way that Stevenson thinks Tank's the best option for him, or like all stuff, right? at the end of it, bro, we just want to do what's best for ourselves, right?
Facts.
Right or wrong.
Facts.
So just do what's best.
Raleigh Romero gave a level-headed view of the upcoming Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis fight, saying Tank's legacy is already secure no matter the outcome. As a multi-division champion with major achievements, Davis doesn't need this fight to prove anything. Still, Romero acknowledged that Jake's size gives him a real physical advantage, a factor that can't be ignored. But even with that edge, he made it clear, nothing about this matchup can take away from what Tank has already accomplished in the sport.
But like, Jake Paul might be too big for him, or Tank might crack him. You don't know. Like I said, like, or as an exhibition, we don't know if they throw at each other or not, or we don't know. I don't know. I can't give an opinion because I don't know what's going on.
Do you think it impacts, like, will it impact Tank's legacy if Jake Paul were, like, to beat him or even, like, knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from him.
Daniel Cormier looked genuinely shocked when he found out GervontaDavis was set to face Jake Paul. In a recent clip, DC called the matchup ridiculous, saying it felt like a total mismatch and questioned why a top-tier pro like Tank would take on an influencer boxer. He admitted he never thought someone of Davis's caliber would go down this path and voiced concern about the clear size and power gap, suggesting the spectacle might risk overshadowing the integrity of Tank's legacy.
I swear to God, I was on a plane coming home from Las Vegas when Luis told me GervontaDavis is fighting Jake Paul. I said, get the bleep out of here. I said, you're a bleep liar. Jake Paul is fighting Gervonta Tank Davis. There's one problem. He fights at 135 pounds. GervontaDavis is that much better than Jake Paul at boxing. But GervontaDavis in his last fight weighed 133.8 pounds. And I'm not over here in the business of just crapping on Jake Paul. I am much more respectful of what he's starting to build as a professional boxer. You're fighting a guy that's better than you. He's just much smaller. But that guy, because he's better than you, what if he wins? Everything Jake Paul has done is wiped completely out. GervontaDavis loses to Jake Paul. Obviously, it's going to hurt who GervontaDavis is. But he lost to a guy that's going to be upwards of 70 pounds bigger than him when he steps into the boxing ring. But I will tell you this right now, without a shadow of a doubt, I will watch this. Tank Davis is 30-0-1. You want to talk about Jake Paul fighting a real boxer? That's a real boxer. You can't make this stuff up, man. It's true. They're fighting.
KSI has spoken out against how hype and spectacle dominate crossover boxing, saying it's turning the sport into more of a show than real competition. In a recent video, he called out Jake Paul for ruining influencer boxing, accusing him of twisting narratives and using controversy to grab attention instead of focusing on genuine skill and athletic performance.
AJ and Jake was never gonna happen.
I didn't.
Really?
Yeah.
You thought it was actually gonna happen? Bro, it's so crazy. Like, I feel like so many people just believe everything.
But that's pretty unbelievable on the other hand.
I feel like I know. Well, okay, how do I say it like this? Itoma versus White. I had a lot of people bet on White winning. And I'm there like, you guys don't watch boxing, do you? You just look at a record and go, oh, Dylan's fought many more people than Itoma. That record says a lot. Itoma's like 18, not 18, Itoma's 20, inexperienced, 1-1. Like, I just knew Itoma was gonna just destroy him. And I think a good fight for Itoma would be him and Wilder.
Journalist Gareth A. Davies has voiced strong concerns about the upcoming Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis fight, calling it yet another case of boxing choosing spectacle over substance. He pointed out that the major weight gap and exhibition format compromise the sport's fairness and competitive integrity. While Davies acknowledged the matchup will draw mainstream attention and big money, he warned that it could come at a cost, further damaging boxing's reputation as a legitimate, serious athletic competition.
Signed. I think we've gone out of the frying pan and into the fire because we thought we were going to get Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua very soon. We'll speak to Frank Smith about that in the next section, obviously. Eddie Hearn was teasing it to me personally last week, £80 million on the table for Anthony Joshua to fight Jake Paul, but 8 inches in height difference, 7 weight divisions between them, 5 stone, 70 pounds between them. It's a joke. It's a circus fight as opposed to a disgrace of a fight, which was Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. At least you feel in this, you've got quite a poor, very big one against a pound-for-pound, brilliant, unbeaten little un. And the little un who'll come up to his navel will hit him with a lot of body shots. I said in the week to Danny Kelly and Charlie Brooker that, do I mean Charlie Brooker? No,
Baker.
Charlie Baker. That Charlie Brooker's a different person altogether. That he'll be throwing the Superman punch, the leaping left hook. It's going to be a very odd thing. It's called, in inverted commas, an exhibition bout. But everybody in boxing who is a name doesn't mind going in with Jake Paul because they know they're making millions of dollars. And that's the only reason that GervontaDavis, who's being called the poison little elf by Jake Paul, and it'll be fun in the build-up. Everybody in boxing knows they're guaranteed to make millions of those silverbacks, those greenback notes that they give out in America, and they give them out for fun when Jake Paul fights. So he's not going to say no to it. But can you pick a winner?
GervontaDavis has openly admitted that several aspects of his upcoming fight with Jake Paul genuinely concern him. He keeps bringing up Jake's power, saying he needs to feel for himself just how hard Paul can punch. Davis also worries about Jake's size, reach, and unorthodox movement, things he's never had to deal with in a match like this. Paul's mental toughness, which has unsettled past opponents, is another factor Tank knows he must prepare for. Still, despite those concerns, Davis insists that on November 14th he'll adapt inside the ring, rise to the moment, and bring everything he's got. Meanwhile, supporters of the Paul vs. Davis fight believe this matchup represents the new era of boxing, one that blends athletic skill with digital influence. Jake Paul's social media fame has introduced the sport to a younger generation of fans who crave personality and spectacle, while Davis embodies the raw, authentic, no-filter spirit of old-school boxing. Together, they've created a collision that feels less like a gimmick and more like the evolution of the fight game itself.
When a fairly novice Jake Paul made a wish list of future opponents, and right in the middle of that list was Gervonta Tank Davis. Many laughed at the time, and some still can't believe we're here. But these two young men are the face of boxing for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. They are the two biggest boxers in America, and they are putting it all on the line. One has the speed, the skill, the accuracy, and the one-punch knockout power. The other has the size, the force, and the unbreakable confidence to make this must-see Netflix.
Does Jake Paul have that concerns you?
What concern me, his power. Gotta test his power. Gotta test his, just everything, to be honest. I never been in the ring with Jake, so I could say a lot, but when it comes down to November 14th, I gotta be in there with him. I gotta be able to, his arm reach, his size, his power, the way he moving and things like that. I just gotta adapt, as I fight him.
Nikisa Badarian, co-founder of Most Valuable Promotions, has confidently dismissed worries about Jake Paul's size advantage over GervontaDavis, insisting that physicality alone won't decide the outcome when facing a fighter of Davis's caliber. According to Badarian, the heavier catch weight was simply a necessity for Paul, who's still developing his professional experience, not a tactical edge. He also revealed that the Paul vs. Davis showdown wasn't some last-minute stunt. It had been quietly in motion for years. After a proposed Canelo Alvarez bout fell apart, Davis's long-standing interest in facing Paul became the natural next step. Badarian explained that once the Canelo plan collapsed, the road to Tank opened wide, setting the stage for one of boxing's most talked-about matchups.
Gonna happen November 14th.
Whatever weight they want, man, they're talking about it, and whatever it is, it's gonna be a definitive outcome. People can talk about pro exhibition. We're gonna make sure this is as real as it's real.
Why was it, just out of curiosity, why is it not a professional bout and why is it an exhibition? Because I'm sure Jake would have taken the professional bout.
Nothing's been communicated as yet in terms of what it is, right? Similar to, if you remember, with Paul Tyson, when we announced it, we didn't have the weight, we didn't have the rules, particularly in terms of the number of rounds, the minutes, the gloves. It's going to be the same thing here.
Gotcha. Can you just offer us any insight as to how these negotiations went? The reason I ask is because I remember back in March, I was at Tank's fight, and after his fight in his press conference, he was asked, next opponent. He said, well, my next opponent might have been in my locker room tonight, and people asked him, was it Jake? He made reference, he made allusion to. Has this been an ongoing thing, and has it ever, been at a point where it wasn't gonna happen and came back, or was this always the plan?
Always been the plan for Jake to fight Tank once Canelo didn't happen. And to Tank's credit, he's a real bad dude, and he's been calling out Jake for 3 years. And people, it's funny how now they're saying size matters, Jake is big, when for so long it's been Tank would kill Jake Paul. And now you get to see if that's real. Thank you, man.
Badarian points out the clear size gap between Jake Paul and Gervonta Tank Davis. Paul is heavier, taller, and has a longer reach. Still, he believes Davis's skill and experience give him a major edge. Tank has been a top-level pro for over a decade, dominating the lightweight division with world titles, knockout power, and an almost perfect record. He's known for his speed, timing, and ability to adapt to any opponent. Paul, on the other hand, is still learning and hasn't faced anyone on Davis's level. Some fans on social media accuse Davis of chasing money instead of real competition by targeting a fight with Jake Paul. But others argue that criticism is unfair, pointing out Davis's undefeated record, multiple titles, and proven success against elite fighters, saying his legacy shouldn't be dismissed so easily.
I would fight no Shakur Stevenson, no Keyshawn Davis, no Teofimo Lopez, no, none of them dudes. You know what I'm talking about? We got to think and look at Tank Davis's whole career. He done made some bread, but at the end of the day, all that bread that he made, when it's all said and done, he ain't gonna get no respect from his peers, because we gonna look down the resume and we gonna be like, he was trash, he was some trash, he was some trash, he was alright, but he was never like that. He was okay. He was some trash, he was some trash. He ain't did nothing. Hey, that's just what it's gonna be at the end.
Critics often overlook what Gervonta Davis has already accomplished. He's earned multiple world titles, stayed undefeated, and delivered countless highlight reel knockouts that prove his dominance in the ring. Choosing a high-profile fight now doesn't erase his achievements or the legacy he spent years building. In today's boxing world, where media, marketing, and entertainment carry as much weight as skill, there's more than one path to greatness. Meanwhile, Jake Paul insists that titles don't define him. He believes his impact on the sport is already historic, breaking viewership records, headlining massive pay-per-view events, and blending boxing with social media and entertainment culture. He's beaten big names like former UFC champions Anderson Silva and even Mike Tyson in an official bout, moments many say have made a bigger splash than chasing belts. When offered an honorary WBA title, Paul turned it down, saying he wants to earn any recognition that truly matters.
They'll never give me credit until I have the world championship belt, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. But belts collect dust, and what I've done in the sport is unprecedented. Never will be replicated, and done it in such a short amount of time, just getting warmed up. They're not going to give me credit, but I don't need the credit from these bozos, to be honest. The credit's in my bank account.
Jake Paul has already shifted his focus beyond Gervonta Davis, publicly calling out Anthony Joshua as his next target, a move that sent shockwaves through the boxing world. Some dismissed it as delusional, while others saw it as bold ambition. Considering Joshua's elite background, heavyweight power, and massive size advantage, many experts see Paul's challenge as unrealistic. Still, it aligns perfectly with his strategy of chasing high-profile fights to keep building his credibility and presence in the sport.
Anytime, any place, against all odds. And I like my odds. First, I'm gonna kill David. Then I will go on to slaughter Goliath. Okay, so you have to think that the last one, first I'm gonna kill David, referring to Gervonta Davis, and then he's going to go on and slay Goliath, referring to Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
He's going to go and fight a 140er and then move up 135er and then move up and fight a heavyweight.
So the lowest he's been, I went through all the fights. For his first two fights, his first two pro fights, he was 175. Now, this is all the way back in 2020 against Nate Robinson. Since then, the lowest he's been, as you said, was like the 185 around the Nate Diaz fight and also for Tommy Fury. I wonder if Jake can get down to that weight anymore. But regardless of Jake's weight, I can't fathom how Tank Davis would be anywhere in the realm of what he would be. Like, it just, he won't even be in earshot of what Jake.
What's your take? Does this matchup make sense as a smart career move for Gervonta Davis? Or is he risking too much for a flashy payday?